Are you ready, James?
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
I can't figure out how to type on this computer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call our March 7th Board of City Commissioners to order. Call the roll, please, ma'am.
Agee,
Here.
Harrod,
Here.
Maynard,
Here.
Hall,
Here.
Shaw. Here. Dykstra. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. If you're able, please stand with me and we'll recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Vice Mayor Harrod, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Attention, position, salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to pull item 1E for just a brief discussion.
E, okay. Are you making that motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, do we have a second? Somebody else? Have a second by Vice Mayor Harrod, okay. All of us vote.
There's no need for a motion.
We don't have to vote on that?
Consent agenda.
Okay, that's fine. We've been doing it the other way, hadn't we?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you said that. All right, item number E, you have a question.
Yes, I'd asked Cindy earlier who the salary changes are for, and if you wouldn't mind just clarifying a little bit on who those leave payouts are for.
Basically, these are the 3 officers that we recognized a month or so ago that had 25 to 30 years of service, and this is their leave payout, because they have all retired.
Okay,
Say what?
They have retired and are gone.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Harrod to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shaw. Let's vote. Yes, motion carries. I don't know why they glue these pages together for me. Item number 2 is citizens' participation. Let me tell you that we do truly love to hear from our citizens, and there may be something going on in our community that we need to be made aware of, that we're not aware of, or something. We have some guidelines, but on limits on speaking time and on so many minutes per subject. But is there anyone here that'd like to come forward and speak to the City Commission? Please state your name and sign that piece of paper, please, ma'am.
Dawn Gambrell.
Or something.
Yeah, just here, I mean, y'all know who I am. I've been here since December. Just here to get an update on the situation at the shelter, if the removal of the gas chamber has been done yet, and if vet care has been brought on board.
Excuse me?
It's not on the agenda because
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but I would suggest that what you do is call the city manager's office, okay? And he'll enlighten you on it, because it needs to be on the agenda for us to have that discussion. Okay, if you wanted to just speak to us and tell us about something, then that would be
Well,
fine.
I'm not understanding, because we haven't had a problem with that before, coming in here and speaking with you about it, to get an update.
There's always been items on the agenda there was last time concerning it.
Yeah,
city
Or
managers.
under new business. Or
under new business, he may address that,
The city
okay?
manager's report or whatever. Is that on your report today?
It's not, sir.
Okay, and how would we get that on the agenda?
Well, I don't know that it needs to be on the agenda. I think if you need your question answered, you could just call the city manager's office.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank
And-
you.
Okay. You bet. Okay, anybody else? If not, we'll move to item number 3. We have a proclamation on Arbor Week. Whereas Arbor Day is celebrated nationally to encourage Americans to maintain and replenish our country's vast forests, orchards, and woodlands. And whereas in March 1982, Oklahoma declared a full Arbor Week to better recognize the value of tree planting, as well as to avoid the harsh planting conditions of late winter. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, reduce heating and cooling cost, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Shawnee has been named as a 2015 Tree City USA community by the Arbor Day Foundation. This is the 12th year Shawnee has received this national recognition. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, contribute immeasurably to our wonderful city, of which we are most proud. In honor of Arbor Week, the Shawnee Beautification and Enhancement Committee will be planting a tree at Larch Miller on March 17th at 4 p.m., and they would like to invite everyone to attend. Now, therefore, I, Wes Maynard, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of March 13th through 19th, 2016, as Arbor Week. Will you tell us where that park is to the audience?
That park, Larch Miller Park, is located in the 900 block of North Broadway. It's right across the street from Redbud Park. There used to be a redbud in place there along with a few others, and it happened to die, and we're going to replace that tree with a new one this year. So just keep on your calendars March 17th at 4 p.m. In Larch Miller Park to have a ceremony and plant the redbud tree. And why I'm here on this, and this kind of goes along with it, I do want for y'all to be able to get on your calendars the day of April 9th, which is our trash off day also. That'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning in Kid Space Park. So.
Item number 4, consider Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund lump sum payment from defined benefit plan for Chris Dunlap.
This is routine and it has no budget impact.
Okay, Chair, have a motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Hall, do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Shaw, a second. Let's vote. Motion carries. Item number 5, consider an ordinance calling for a general and runoff election for Mayor, Ward 2, Ward 3, and Ward 4, and filling the unexpired term of Ward 1. I don't know that we need a staff report on this, do we? I think we're all pretty.
So I got a question. What happens if you don't approve this?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
You will have a stern memo from my office.
Okey dokey. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion.
Mayor,
approved.
Mayor, could I hold
Sure.
just for a second? Section 3, the last sentence, could you educate me a little bit on that? Section 3, the last sentence. If one of the two candidates nominated for an office dies or removes from the city or from his ward, the remaining candidate is elected ipso facto and shall be issued a certificate of election, and his name shall not appear upon the general runoff election ballot. This is new language, is it not?
Actually, that language is taken, Commissioner Shaw, from Section 10 of the City of Shawnee Charter. All those provisions relating to the tiebreaker policies and the inability to serve. Looks like they were adopted via ordinance number 1899 NS. Now, I don't see the specific language, the ipso facto elected language, but what I am reading.
I guess the way I read that, but while he's looking that up, was that if you and I were running for a slot and I died, after I was elected and not taken office, and maybe that's the way I interpreted that. That may not be, I may have interpreted it
No,
wrong.
that's basically what it says.
And then you would automatically, let's say I had won, okay? But you were the other candidate, then you would automatically fill in take over because I passed away.
I guess my question on it,
And I don't know.
I appreciate that, is that with our Ward 1 vacancy, would that have applied towards that? Because we've had this vacancy for some period of time, and if we'd had another person that had been running, and then if this were applicable, could that other person not have stepped up to that?
I thought that only applies before they're sworn into office. Once they're sworn into office, then it's the appointment process.
Commissioner Hall's correct. I would agree with that interpretation. It would be the
Okay, so
interim
after-
period. Right.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
So
Absolutely.
during the campaign cycle, if somebody happens, the other one, there's only one other one, they would become the city commissioner.
Now, that was the specific language taken from a previous ordinance. I will tell you, Commissioner Shaw, that precise sentence does not appear in the charter, but the general duty of putting forth those types of policies is the duty of the commission as set forth in the charter.
Well, I like the language, I really do.
Okay.
And I wish it were applicable also to those who may step down or otherwise, like the mayor had said, if something were to happen while an individual's in office, it would have provided relief for our Ward 1, is my
I
thought.
think under that circumstance, it certainly could have. Without preparing that issue, I don't want to speak out of turn, but there may be some difficulty after that individual was actually sworn in and taken the oath as far as replacing them automatically in that fashion. So that would be my concern with that.
Okay.
But this certainly doesn't address that scenario.
Does that clear up your question? Okay, then I think I heard a motion from
Motion to
you.
approve.
Motion to approve, second by Vice Mayor Harrod. Would you read the title, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance calling and providing for the holding of nonpartisan general and general runoff elections in the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, for the purpose of nominating and electing candidates for the office of mayor and the offices of city commissioner of the 2nd Ward, city commissioner of the 3rd Ward, and city commissioner of the 4th Ward, and the unexpired term of the offices of city commissioner of the 1st Ward, establishing a filing period and qualifications for such office, designating the manner of electing the various city offices named herein, providing for said elections to be conducted by the Pottawatomie County Election Board, providing for voting by absentee ballot, providing for severability, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, then let's vote on that issue right there, and then we'll come back and vote on the emergency. Motion carries. Now, emergency clause in this matter. Do I need a motion on that?
So moved.
Do we need one?
Yes, James made one. You
All
want
right.
you want a second? Anybody want a second the
I'll
emergency?
second.
Commissioner Hall.
Luckily.
Okay, have a motion and a second then, okay? On the emergency clause, which puts that into effect real soon, so let's vote on that matter. Motion carries, okay? Item number 6, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the Shawnee branding report and plan. Mr. Erickson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commission members. Hopefully this plan is pretty familiar to you. We had a workshop on October 5th with the consultant Arnett Muldrow, who was hired by Visit Shawnee Incorporated. And then we did a final presentation at your January 19th meeting. And what staff is requesting tonight is official approval from this body of the overall branding concept and plan. And I would say that I think staff is enthusiastically recommending approval and looking forward to implementing this brand across all city mediums over the coming months. What has also been interesting to see between January 19th and today, since that final presentation was made, to see the various organizations that have already adopted a brand within the overarching brand family, if you will. And those include Visit Shawnee Incorporated, the Historic Shawnee Alliance, and Safe Events for Families. And I know of other organizations that are currently reviewing their brand as well, I believe including the Chamber of Commerce and other organizations. So just as a recap, this is designed to serve as a community brand with more tailored, individualized brands for each organization, but there's an overarching theme and purpose and mission to it. And so with that, since we've discussed it several times before, I'll just reserve the rest of the time for questions if there are any.
Justin, I do have several questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Will the Redbud logo also be used on our city commission business cards, or is the city commission and mayor supposed to pick their own brand?
I would say that not necessarily that the Redbud would be utilized, and there would certainly be an option for the mayor and commissioners to review options, but they would need to be consistent with the overall brand. So there is one logo that includes a Redbud, and then there's an exact replica that's exactly the same in every way, except that it just omits the Redbud. So there would be a couple of options, at least there, ma'am.
I had noticed in the brand statement that the first paragraph, the last sentence indicated that the railroad was with the Native American Cultural Center, and I guess I need to be educated. Where is the Native American Cultural Center in the city of Shawnee, other than the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Cultural Center?
That is the implied reference there.
Okay.
Is that.
I'd suggest clarification on that, because there are 4 other tribes in the area that.
That's a good point.
What helped you to decide to use blue and green as the primary colors?
Through that process in October, when they provided that workshop before this body, during that week they also did a number of focus group meetings. There was a subcommittee that was established. There was input, I would say, from probably nearly 100 different individuals and well over a dozen organizations. The consultant, though, had wide latitude in their quest, and so the coloration was not a specific topic of discussion. It was we were really relying on the background of the consultant and their professional opinion to kind of pull all of that together. So you will note, though, in the plan that there is deviations on those colors. So, for example, on a police car that's black and white, they can certainly use a logo that's perhaps black, for example, and fire could use red. And so we have flexibility on how those colors are applied depending upon the application.
Okay, so there is flexibility. I'd noticed those colors in there, and I appreciate that.
Yes, there's definitely flexibility.
And well done by Arnett Muldrum.
We've been very pleased. They are also, as I mentioned, I think last meeting, they were also hired for the follow-up work by Visit Shawnee to prepare the wayfinding plan. So this is not the last you'll see of the implementation. Much of this will go on behind the scenes, but something that you will see certainly soon is the wayfinding plans, and we'll of course need your permission to go out for bid or to accept proposals on sign companies when we begin that installation process. So Arnett Muldrum will be helping us with that and refining that plan, and then we'll be in a position to begin putting up those signs later this summer.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion in this matter.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Shaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Agee. Let's vote. Motion carries. Item number 7. Discussion and consideration and possible action regarding an amended agreement with Safe Events of Families to provide additional goods and services in the support of Trail Days event, officially combining Trail Days and Glory Days 4th of July celebration. Mr. Erickson?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. This proposal, I want to explain just a little bit because it may be a little confusing. At present, the City of Shawnee is under a contractual obligation with, or a relationship with Safe Events for Families, and I include that information in your packet. That's for $15,000, and that's done through an annual contract and through the contract review process. We're about to start the contract review process for next year's budget later on this month, but something has come up where we are proposing an amendment to the existing agreement, which would provide some additional funding for Safe Events for Families under this budget year and prior to July 1st for an enhancement of Trail Days to include fireworks and some of the features of Glory Days. And so your action tonight, should you approve this, would officially combine those events under Safe Events for Families and provide city funding, which is already budgeted for the Glory Days celebration, to then instead be spent on Trail Days. Trail Days will run June 17th through 18th, and the fireworks show would be on Saturday evening, June 18th.
So we wouldn't have Glory Days?
That's correct. Glory Days is actually an event that had only been in place for about 3 years. There was a previous event at the expo prior to that, but the current iteration of what's become known as Glory Days was really spearheaded by one individual in the community who's no longer here, and there is no organizational structure or administrative person within the city that can really pick up Glory Days and continue. And so I think it would be best to consolidate the events because they're so close to each other. Ideally, Trail Days would be maybe one more weekend later, so it'd be a little bit closer to the 4th of July with the fireworks. But I think this is the next best thing, and that we're getting 2 events that maybe had good turnout, or we can maybe focus on one event that has even better turnout and has perhaps even more offerings. So staff does recommend approval of the amended contract.
I have a question. It says that $10,000 will be allocated toward the fireworks to the vendor that's going to be putting on the fireworks display.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
much was spent last year on that? Do you know, for that vendor?
The city historically, at least for the last 3 years with Glory Days, has budgeted between $20,000 and $25,000 to be spent on the event. That
Yeah.
includes more than just fireworks. I'd have to double check on fireworks. If I recall correctly, I think it was between $15,000 to $19,000.
Okay. So we'll be paring that down, right?
The fireworks would be pared down because Trail Days occurs downtown, and because of the location, the fireworks show would be modified slightly. It would
okay.
some of the show would occur at a lower elevation, and there would be actually some reduced costs. It still would be a substantial show. It would just be a different kind of show.
And where would the show be?
It would be, they're still finalizing the location, but it would
Okay.
be visible, it would be very visible from downtown Shawnee.
Okay.
And it would take place somewhere in or near downtown.
We had the fireworks, didn't we have fireworks at the, was it the Christmas parade?
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah,
few.
remember, huh? Well,
A
I know,
few.
but they didn't have a lot, but this will
One or
help
two,
make this a
yeah.
big good. This will
Okay.
help make this.
So, you're talking about the what is that, the 18th of June, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So, James, is that the same weekend as the car show out of Boy Scout, or is that the next weekend, is it 25th? Or do you remember?
It's the same weekend, I don't know exactly what weekend it is.
I don't think it'd hurt if it
It's
was.
not gonna hurt if it is, right? It'd be
Yeah,
better if it was.
it'd actually be better if it was that weekend, just to have that many more people
Yeah.
in here.
I think it's the 25th.
Right. Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
May I have a second? By Commissioner Agee and Mr. Strong, let's vote.
Mayor, I do have one more question on that.
Okay.
No discussion, but just a question of Mr. Krebs. Mr. Krebs, is there anyone on the CEF board from the city? I mean, anyone in the planning process, one of the city staff, or would you concede to allowing maybe one of the city commission, if they so desire, to be part of that, to be included?
On the committee, those guys.
I'm
All
not
right,
sure
thank
we-
you.
I'm not sure we wouldn't want to have somebody like a city staff person, because they know about routing of routes and all that
That's what I
stuff.
was thinking.
Yeah, instead of us, instead of a commissioner.
I can explore that with Mr. Curbs.
Okay, we voted and the motion passed, okay. Let's move on to item number 8. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding a resolution of support for Oklahoma education initiatives and increased education funding. Anybody want to report on that, or are you going to?
Mayor, this is mine, resolution, and I'm requesting that it be placed under a resolution, and here's some information in regard to that to the city commissioners. On January 7, 2016, the Oklahoman published an article indicating that mid-year budget cuts could force some of the Oklahoma schools to districts to close. On January 11th, another article was put out by the Oklahoma Watch, which published an article indicative that school funding cuts were expected to deepen. And then on January 11th, the Oklahoma State Department of Education issued some facts on their website. It indicated $46.7 million budget. The budget was to be cut to pre-K to 12th grade. On February 12, 2016, Oklahoma Policy Institute posted in budget capital updates and comments, and Governor Fallin released in her 2017 budget proposal. The numbers were very revealing. It was over $329 million that was to be cut to common education. The governor proposed to spend over $6 million, a cut of $52 million, or less than 1%. Only one area in state government would see an increase. That was common education. The governor's recommending an increase of over $105 million, which is still less than the $178 million needed to give the teachers a $3,000 raise. February 2016, the Tulsa World put out an article indicated that money found. Oklahoma's public schools not in line for additional $19.1 million cut after all. There was a House bill put into place in 1990 known as 1017. It was the Education Reform Act. It was to fund a number or a range of education initiatives through increased taxes. Those taxes, that was a law that permanently established that fund as a dedicated fund source. Those funds are generated from the taxes of personal and corporate income taxes, sales taxes, use taxes, cigarette and tobacco taxes, and tribal gaming and horse track gaming revenues. In January 2016, $47 million in state general funds was cut for public schools in current year budgets. One more round of cuts for schools related to deepening revenue shortfalls in the general fund should be expected before June 30th of this year. The 1017 fund will assist to offset the general fund decrease, but education is going to see cuts. We need to support the Shawnee school system. We need to support the state education. This resolution seeks to assist with giving some thought behind the action, and I appreciate that Justin assisted me in co-authoring this resolution. It talks to the needs of the city of Shawnee. And thank you, James Herod, for assisting with that.
I might say that Governor Fallon came out today, she's going to take some monies, 46 million out of the rainy day fund to help schools. But the worst part of it is that even with this year's, if they, come up with a 43 million, 1017, and then the money from the rainy day fund, then next year's going to be another situation because it's not going to get any better. As a matter of fact, on schools, it's probably going to be worse. So that's one of the reasons that the schools are in such a dire need of it. I worked with Representative Steve Lewis. I was superintendent at Bethel at this time, and he was our representative, and he actually authored 1017. So I'm very familiar with that organization, but I think it's a good deal. Pot County is one of the few, or I guess the only county in the state of Oklahoma that's voted a 0.5 sales tax just for schools, and it's for capital outlay, which would have released some monies to be used in other areas. So, so that's, I don't remember what that's supposed to raise, but anyhow, it's a pretty nice chunk of money, and so they can take some of their building fund and use it for other than maintenance, some maintenance salaries and things like that. So it's quite a bit of help, and they're going to use that for technology. So I was asked Commissioner Shaw to include all the schools in Shawnee city limits instead of just Shawnee, because they're all in the same situation. They're all, hurting for money. So I'd second the motion. If that was a motion for the resolution, I'd second the motion.
Was yours a motion?
There is a motion.
Yeah, we got a second. Okay, would you read it, please, sir?
A resolution expressing support for Oklahoma education funding by the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, directing that said resolution be included in the official records of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, and authorizing a copy be presented to Governor Mary Fallon.
One other comment, I want to mention that this is not an introduction, not a for the 0.5 cent sales tax or the 1 cent sales tax called for by by President Bourne, but this is making the legislature and the governor aware of the need in education.
Okay, let's vote. Motion carries. Okay, item number 9, consider approval of preliminary plat for Vision Bank Addition Section 2 located at 4301 North Harrison Street, case number SO1-16, applicant Vision Bank. Staff report on that matter, sir?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. First case we have here today, Vision Addition Section 2, is a 10-acre piece of property located on the east side of Harrison between 42nd Street and 45th Street. All the land is Zone C3. We actually, just last month, looked at Section 1 for a preliminary plat there, so this would be the next section here, Section 2. What we're looking at is 2 developable lots and 2 outlots dedicated for detention. City staff has reviewed the plat, and page 2 here, the staff report, outlines several components really of this plat. Again, the first lot here would be approximately 2.5 acres in size. Lot 2, about 5 acres in size. The 2 outlots really contain the concrete channelization for the storm water. that's on site that I believe at this point is complete. Vision Boulevard will be the interior access that goes from Harrison Street to 45th Street. As a collector, it will require sidewalks, 4-foot sidewalks. We will require along 42nd Street that instead of being a local street, we'll actually have right-of-way dedication to make a collector. No commercial access can be on a local street, so that's why we have that there. That will require 6-foot sidewalk along Harrison, 4-foot sidewalk along 42nd Street, and the interior Vision Boulevard. Beyond that, staff finds this very much in compliance with sanitary sewer and water service at this time. At that, staff has listed 5 conditions for approval. The main one here is really moving forward to final plat, which is a letter map revision that effectively shows the floodplain, which is quite substantial in this area, will actually be reduced to the concrete channelization that's present. So with that, staff does recommend approval with 5 conditions.
So, I got a question about the sidewalks. So you're acquiring the sidewalks, or are you giving them the option to pay into that fund, or is the sidewalks on those 2 streets, 45th and 42nd, required?
Sure. On collector streets, we require 4-foot sidewalks. On major arterials, it's 6-foot sidewalks. So it really is going to be a requirement for both.
So we'll have sidewalks out there that are just go nowhere.
For now. The goal of which would be as more development happens, more plats happen, we connect the dots.
Okay, any other questions?
Justin, I know that when I was at this meeting and I'd heard that one of the planning commissioners asked the question about a flashing light. Is that to be considered at some point in time?
Yes, ma'am. That would be considered at the staff level moving forward to final plat. What was presented was where Vision Boulevard exits out to 45th Street, based on topography there with a hill being present, potentially having flashing lights presenting kind of a safety measure there. That will be considered by staff, absolutely.
All right, thank you. I make a motion that we accept this with the 5 staff recommendations.
We have a motion, do I have a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Shaw, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Herrick, let's vote. Motion carries. Item number 10, consideration of approval of a preliminary plat for Rolling Hills Addition located at the northeast intersection of Main Street and Bryan Avenue. Case number SO2-16, applicant absentee Shawnee Housing Authority.
All right, thank
Justin.
you again. Next case here, the applicant here is absentee Shawnee Housing Authority, and the property is roughly 9.38 acres in size, located at the northeast corner of Main Street and Bryan. For a little history here, this particular property was actually final platted in May of 2012 for 26 single-family residential lots. Those were never developed, so at this point, with a few changes, we're moving forward again with preliminary plat. In August of 2014, actually, it is incorporated into this plat, but in this exact area, a community center based on a conditional use permit was actually approved here, and that, again, will be combined with the current plat we're looking at here today. So the plat today is actually going to be 24 single-family residential lots on just under 10 acres. There'll be one common area, excuse me, which will actually include a walking path, walking trail. That kind of combines the community center with the housing directly adjacent. On this, what we're looking at is a 4-foot sidewalk requirement along Bryan Street. Beyond that, it's not too complicated of a plat. We have, at this point, staff's approved sewer lines, water lines. We have the water lines looped, sewer lines are present. Community center is actually in place. We'll have half-street improvements for the full extent along Main Street to the property line of the community center. With that being said, staff has listed 5 conditions for approval. Staff does recommend approval at this time with those conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
When this was first presented, I thought it was presented as retirement-type housing.
I don't know that that's changed. I don't know if that's changed. It's still single-family residential lots. They actually own some property to the south
I mean,
as well.
I was just curious, it's not gonna change the way I would vote on this, but I
Sure.
was just curious if it's still.
Are you getting ready to retire?
Well, I would like to live there if I was, that's a key, not me, but.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
I don't believe that's changed. I don't have that confirmed necessarily, but
It's
that
a
was my
nice-
understanding.
It'd be a nice area, it looks like.
Boy,
it's
it'll
gonna be
improve
nice.
that area if it's nice. Boy, it's kind of, it
Right.
needs some improvement there.
Justin,
Yes, ma'am.
excuse me, Mayor.
That's fine.
I had recalled some of the discussion that you had, and there was a floodplain channel that needed to be adhered to. Is there anything we need to be made aware of? I believe you had discussion a little bit about that. And I know the AST engineer, I believe, is here too. Is there anything we need to be made aware of on that?
We don't have any issues at this time with the
Okay.
floodplain.
Okay.
When do you require a 4-foot sidewalk versus 6-foot?
Sure. So collector streets, we require by ordinance a 4-foot sidewalk. On any arterial type street, it's 6 foot at that point. We have, we have right now exclusions only for the RE zoning district, the rural estates zoning district. Besides that, it's commercial, it's industrial, and for these types of subdivisions, we do the same.
And the area that Brian is down there is not a big street. It's pretty much ending.
Just 2 lane, yeah.
Yeah, it's ending
it's
just
four-
about
Oh,
there.
okay.
It's 4 foot when it's a
Brian's,
sidewalk to nowhere.
Brian's,
Well, maybe one of
but
these
you gotta
days,
start somewhere.
We
Yeah,
got a
start-
sidewalk on the other side of Brian there, right, already?
We do.
I mean, this,
No, we don't.
this is a little pet peeve I have, and I'm not gonna do anything about it because I can't. But it's
Sure.
just, we put these sidewalks out there and they stay there, you know, forever with just a short section of sidewalk.
That's
And
on
I thought we
island.
talked, yeah, it's an island, right? It's a sidewalk to nowhere. And I thought we talked about giving them the, you know, doing
Like-
an option to where they pay into the sidewalk fund and then we pool that money and actually build sidewalks
Sure.
that go someplace.
We do have that alternative, actually. It is
Huh?
the, it
We
is the
have
pay
that
in lieu of,
alternative.
it's an option.
Yeah,
Same fee.
we ought to do something, encourage them to pay in instead of put a sidewalk out there that's not needed and it doesn't go anywhere.
Sure.
I
One of the
disagree.
builders told me, Commissioner, that it was cheaper to build a sidewalk and it wasn't
But that's why we need to change it to where that it's like our choice instead
Well, I
of the
think that'd be
builder's
another
choice.
matter. It's on
Yeah,
the
we gotta
agenda.
get that on
Okay,
the
well,
agenda.
let you have it on your discussion time,
Okay.
Commissioner discussion, okay?
I'd move we approve the plat that's recommended by staff.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Harrod. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Let's vote.
But I agree with you, Commissioner Hall.
Yeah, we need to get that on the future agenda and talk about it.
Okay,
Here, I'll vote.
motion carries. Okay, item number 11 is consideration approval of a final plat for Avonlea Addition located at 789 West Country Grove Drive. Case number SO3-16. Applicant United Senior Properties. I think we remember talking about this. This is behind the car lot, sort of. I don't know if it's CarMax or whatever it is on the east, west side of Harrison, yeah.
Yeah, I had trouble figuring out where Country Cove Drive is, and I remembered the apartments up
Yeah,
there.
it goes down to those apartments.
All right. So yes, we actually did the preliminary plat for Avonlea Cottages, I believe in December. Essentially what we have here is it's a 1-lot plat for 2.72 acres in size. Avonlea Cottages is an assisted living facility, and essentially they want to double in size, expand to the south there. So really what we've changed at this point in requiring the plat is to have that access along Harrison Street, which will allow access to the back-end parking lot for the future expansion. We've required that they include an outlot for the detention, I'm sorry, not the detention, the floodplain that's actually present along the west side. Beyond that, we have the city services already present on site. So really what we are including here is again, all the necessities. We have stormwater detention on site, city utilities, again, present. It really was the purchase of additional property to the south that allowed it to meet our code, our standards at that point. Really at that, pretty basic, but staff does recommend approval. We have 6 conditions listed. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chair will entertain a motion. Not
I
me.
move we adopt that's recommended by the staff.
With the 6.
With the
changes.
6 conditions.
Have a motion by Vice Mayor Harrod and a second. Let's vote. Motion carries. Item number 12. Consideration of approval of a preliminary plat for Regal Addition located at 4200 North Harrison Street. Case number SO4-116, applicant Forum Investments. Justin, you're getting a workout tonight.
That's right. All right, thank you. This next case here, Regal Addition, right next door, really same property, Country Grove and Harrison Street there. Property is roughly 1.2 acres in size. The site is commercially zoned, C3. And the intended use here is for a car lot on the site. Currently, this property is actually split into 3 lots, and what we're asking here is to combine these all into 1 lot. We have all the easements present that we need at this point. Really, it's the extension of the city sewer that we need from the south side of Country Grove to the north side to follow those easements. It would be a 3,625 square foot car dealership with adequate parking, stormwater detention, 2 locations for ingress and egress, which would be Harrison and Country Grove. 4-foot sidewalk on Country Grove, 6 foot along Harrison Avenue. And yes, again, really we're looking at the city sewer extension onto site, and that actually is one of the conditions we've listed for approval. It's currently the preliminary plat doesn't show exactly how it gets there, so minor, but we do need to see that as we move forward. And I apologize, this staff report's actually for this case and the next case. We have both a preliminary and a final plat approval to look at. Being that it's 1 lot plat, fairly basic in nature, we have the documentation that we need at this point. For the preliminary plat, staff has 4 conditions. Again, showing the sanitary sewer extension to the subject lot, and then just general approval, of course, of sanitary sewer and drainage plans, and any other applicable standards at that point. For final plat approval, we have 5 conditions listed. Recommendation for approval is for both. And really this includes, again, the sidewalk standard that we need and any construction documents at that time. So at this point, for case SO416 preliminary plat, staff does recommend approval with 4 conditions. And for SO516 final plat, staff has 5 conditions but does recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer
Any questions?
Is the fishing bank gonna open a car lot over, is that what? Carl's not paying attention.
Across the street.
Across the street.
Yeah.
West side, we're on the east side.
I thought maybe you could watch it from your office across the street there.
Okay, the chair will
I move
entertain a
we-
motion on number 12 with
I
the
move
4
we adopt
conditions.
Preliminary plat is the 4 conditions.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Let's vote. Motion carries. Item number 13, we've already had a staff report on that. The chair will entertain a motion with those
I move we adopt the
5.
final plat with the 5 conditions that's
Have
recommended
a
by the
motion
staff.
by Vice Mayor Harrod. Do I have a second?
Linda, do you want to get in on the seconds?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Agee's doing the second on this one, okay? Let's vote. Motion carries. Number 14, consider bids, lease of the city of Shawnee property located in the northeast corner of Leo Street and West Tech Road, Shawnee, OK, for the purpose of pasture land.
Mayor and Commissioners, it is staff's recommendation that we go ahead and award the lease to Dace Dockery. He's leased from us since 2010. He maintains the property well, and and this is $1,000 more a year than what he was paying us.
Okay, we have a staff recommendation in this matter. Any questions?
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Shaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Let's vote. Motion carries. Item number B under bids is auditorium HVAC project. Boy, we've been waiting a while on this sucker.
Motion to approve.
Whoa,
How many bids? One.
man, it seemed like we've
They
been waiting on
got
this.
6 or 8 plans, he's got one bid?
Wow.
Good gracious. Oh, my God. Got 8 sets of plans out, didn't he?
From the list that we were given from Reed Prographics, there were only 2 plan holder rooms that picked up a set of plans. Now, one of my list was, that had so many on it, was those that came to the mandatory pre-bid meeting,
Right.
which kind of got our hopes up. There were about 11 companies there, and I'm thinking, well, you know, this is going to be pretty good. And then when I get the lists in last week and start looking at who picked up plans, I don't know where it went wrong.
You
So-
may need to work on your presentation.
Maybe I do.
Over
I don't-
next time.
Maybe I asked too much of them, I don't know.
One of the problems is some of these guys that visit the site, I will look down through there, probably can't bond a project this big. If it's 600,000, you know, that's a pretty good bond. And have assets and so forth and bonding capacity, it's a pretty good project for them. The Hardesty team's probably one of the larger companies that could do that.
Right. Let me go ahead and read the bid in, and we did receive one from S.E. Hardesty and Company, also known as the Hardesty team from Oklahoma City. The base bid for the project was $633,028. We did have a couple of options in there for some alternate dedicated air handlers and fan coil units there. They chose not to take those options, but what was bid in the specs. And just in case the bid come in lower than what we actually expected, we had a couple of alternates in there. Where we wanted to upgrade the lighting in the auditorium with some LED lighting, which they did give a bid on that of $49,772. And then to replace all the ceiling tiles while we were at it, which came in at $75,868.
Did you have to list the electrician on that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Staff's recommendation at this point is to defer this to the next meeting, give me some time to talk to the contractors, see exactly what they were thinking on this, and maybe talk to a few of them that didn't bid and ask them why, and we'll come back with some sort of recommendation on the next meeting.
So how much do we have budgeted for that?
$600,000.
How much?
600.
600?
I'd move we table or until the next meeting, give her, you know, 30 days or just the 2 weeks?
Just the 2 weeks.
Okay.
Second.
Staff review the bids.
Okay, Vice Mayor Harrod made the motion, a second by Commissioner Shaw. Let's vote. Motion carries. Item number 15 is the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm just going to update you on one thing this evening, and that's our special call workshop meeting on Friday, March 25th. We do have a room reserved at the Expo Center. Tentatively, the meeting will start at 9 a.m. Of course, we don't put an end time on there, but I do have, we will be served lunch, and so can go into the early afternoon as needed. I've gotten some topics from some of you for the meeting, and as I finalize the agenda in the next week or so, I would just ask that if you have any additional topics to please forward those to me, and I'm looking forward to this meeting at the end of the month. That's all I have, sir.
All right, sir. Any new business?
No, sir.
No new business. Commissioners' comments. Now then, do you want to talk about sidewalks? You already got that off.
It off my
Okay.
chest, right?
All right. Anybody else want to talk about anything?
Will?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
The Pioneer Library had the Read Across America celebration on March 4th, and that was at the Shawnee Early Childhood Center. And they were very fortunate in that they received a generous grant from the Junior Service League of Shawnee and from the Friends of the Library. And with those grants, they were able to provide for every child enrolled in the SECC a book. And that's especially important to me when you don't have the funds and you would like to have your child to have one. They made that possible, and I appreciate the Pioneer Library for doing that. Recently, I attended the Avitas Foundation and listened to Bill Millett. He spoke on education and leadership development, which helped me to become a little more resolved about supporting the educational system, and I believe that I've been lacking in doing that, especially when my daughter is an educator in the field. So I think we should look to supporting our Shawnee school systems and look to supporting the education of our children, because they truly are our future. Another event is, I'd like to just mention, I believe, and correct me where I'm wrong, Tim Berg, we have a CEF board meeting, and I hope to attend that for the first time this time. The Beautification Committee, James, I believe, is on March 10th. Is that correct? On Sunday. Vice Mayor Herod, please mark your clock. We've got daylight savings time change, so.
Thank you.
And just a word to our businesses out in Shawnee. I certainly appreciate all that you're doing out there, but go a step further. Recently, and I tell you, I am a customer that is a continuous customer, I guess I should say, at Jimmy's Egg. And recently, I tried to do takeout, and they said, we're too busy for takeout. So let's not say that. Let's keep those doors open and help our customers. And I regret having to hear that, and I regret not getting food that day. So be customer service friendly, please.
Well, I was going to say on the, Commissioner Hall was talking about the sidewalks, Justin DeBruin, we might want to take a look at that. We might, if in fact, and that's just the passing of one of the contractors, you know, with the information whether it's still cheaper to build a sidewalk, we might want to take a look at those figures and see if we can encourage them. I think we could
Take a look.
continue.
Go ahead.
Continue the sidewalks or put the money on the sidewalks like they have on Bryan or on Independence or something like that, instead of having them on Highland. It's, you know, we got 3 lots there with a sidewalk on it, doesn't have anything that's connecting on either end. So, but yeah. The other thing is that I was noticing that the second block down in Main Street looked like they're getting ready to do done the preliminary grading, looked like they're putting the final grading together, so should start the paving part of that.
Actually laid some curving today.
Yeah, so that's what I thought, it's looking good.
I just wanted to, I was hoping John would be here, Crowicki, but I understand. Am I seeing another water leak in the middle of Independence, just west of Center and east of Harrison, in the middle of that street? I know it was blocked off in a huge hole there for a long time, and it looks to me like there's water standing there. It's sinking. Is there something going on?
We can look at that, and
James, you probably drive that. Have you noticed it?
yeah, there's a valve leaking there on the corner.
A valve leaking on the corner. It's running down there?
Yes, the backing leaks on the top when I replaced it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's difficult with the school right there. Sometimes we have to wait until.
Well, I hated to see us have to tear that whole street up again right in the same spot where we'd worked so hard on. Any other comments? Okay, then I will adjourn the city commission meeting and then I'll move over to the Shawnee Airport Authority. I will call it to order and declare we do have a quorum. Item number 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Herod. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Let's vote. Motion carries. Any new business?
No, sir.
Then I will adjourn the Shawnee Airport Authority, and I will call to order the Shawnee Municipal Authority. I will have called it to order. I declare we have a quorum. Item number 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion by Vice Mayor Harry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Let's vote. Motion carries. Any new business?
No, sir.
I will declare us adjourned. Thank each and every one of you for coming tonight.